Today, the Republican Party officially nominated President Donald J. Trump and Vice President Mike Pence for re-election. Around 300 delegates cast their votes in person in North Carolina and then celebrated afterwards. President Trump says the RNC will not take the words "under God" out of the Pledge of Allegiance. The report says two caucuses at the Democratic National Convention omitted the phrase when reciting the pledge. Philip Crowther, international affiliate reporter for the Associated Press, joins me now from Charlotte. Philip, welcome back. Always good to see you. So set the scene for us. What's the mood like there in Charlotte?
Well, frankly, it was over in a flash. This was the only in-person part of either of the two political conventions this year. Just lasted a few hours this morning. All we got were 6 delegates per state or territory getting together. We had the roll call inside the convention center here in Charlotte. You see behind me, that led to the nominations of President Trump and Vice President Pence for the presidency this year. And that was pretty much it. Now, the city of Charlotte, of course, was expecting so much more. This was supposed to be several days of convention madness as we're used to it, with thousands of delegates on the floor in the big sports arena. None of that, of course, happened because of the coronavirus pandemic. But what Republicans did differently here to Democrats is they did have one in-person element. That's what happened here this morning. Now, there was a lot of advice for delegates to, first of all, keep distance from each other, to wear masks. Only about half of them really followed those guidelines, to be honest, within the convention center. But at least Republicans will be happy that they were able to pull off this small in-person part, the only one of these two political conventions this year.
Well, Philip, this will be a rebuttal of sorts to what we heard from the Democrats last week. What's the overall theme for the convention?
Well, it's actually going to look pretty similar to what Democrats came up with last week in terms of the format, at least. Instead of in-person speeches on the floor of a big sports arena, what you're going to see is a nightly 2-hour show, essentially, put on by Republicans in this case, similar to what we saw last week from Democrats. Now, what the president and Republicans, though, are insisting on is that this is going to be, first of all, more optimistic, though, of course, the president's speech earlier here today wasn't necessarily, and that also there are going to be more live elements, more live speeches, fewer recorded videos. But for the rest of it, in the terms of the format, it's going to look very similar indeed. In terms of the content, well, we'll have to wait and see. The party and the Trump campaign have told us repeatedly that this is going to be an optimistic outlook on the future of the United States, and of course a look back on what the Republican Party sees as major achievements on behalf of the Trump administration.
Philip, who can we expect to hear from tonight, and any surprises?
There'll always be surprises, and in fact the Republicans and the Trump campaign have kept on telling us that there will be surprises, thereby in a sense taking away, of course, that surprise element. But we do expect to see at least the president each night of this convention, from Monday all the way through to Thursday, and his big acceptance speech that will of course be held at the White House. Now, what you're going to see tonight and every other night of this convention during this primetime programming is you'll see the closest allies to the president, those who've really stuck by his side throughout his White House tenure, those who stuck with him during the impeachment trial as well. And you're going to see a lot of Trump family members. For example, one of the keynote speeches tonight is going to be from Donald Trump Jr. I think we all know he will have political ambitions of his own. And every single night we will be hearing from a family member, including Ivanka Trump, who will be introducing the president on Thursday. And then, of course, those notable members of Congress in the Senate and in the House of Representatives who are very much on the president's side. I should mention also that there are some very notable absentees. For example, the last Republican nominee for the presidency, that was Mitt Romney. He is not going to be speaking on behalf of the president. The last Republican president, George W. Bush, is not going to give Donald Trump his support either.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Philip Crowther, international affiliate reporter for the Associated Press. Thank you again.